It's the Charlie Checker Show, a jazzy compendium of reviews for artists, independent films, musicians, and authors. Visit online at thecharliecheckershow.com. Hello, welcome to the Charlie Checker Show. This is Charlie Checkers. I will be your storyteller today. Today I want all you listeners just to sit back and relax. Close your eyes and remember how much from your childhood you remember dreaming about being a pirate, sailing a ship in a cool, faraway seas. How about being stranded on a deserted island, digging for buried treasures, swashbuckling with your mateys? Or how about building a treehouse high in the sky in the jungle canopy with just the monkeys and those wild, beautiful, exotic birds to keep you company? Most of us have seen or heard or read books about these kind of things, stranded, some by shipwreck, others by because they were put there intentional as prison islands, they were called. Movies like Swiss Family Robinson, which is personally my favorite, Tom Hanks and Castaways, Robinson Crusoe. But what if you weren't stranded somewhere warm? What about in the Antarctica, where it's freezing cold? With no supplies, no equipment, how would you survive? Well, today I am going to talk about 6 incredible stories of real people that were stranded on islands for times, and they survived to tell about it. So, before I start, I would like to let you know that the information came from www.history.com/news/6-famous-castaways by Evan Andrews. But before we start our stories, let's go to a short commercial break. Do you see that doggy in the shelter?
Hi, I'm Buddy, the adorable puppy you adopted from the Humane Society. Meow. I'm Whiskers, a fluffy kitty, just waiting for someone to love me.
When you adopt a pet, we hope your new furry friend will become a cherished member of your family. And as Buddy and Whiskers will tell you, the key to success is following the rules to love by.
Well, that's right. Please give me food, water, and exercise every day. To stay healthy, I need the same kind of things you need. Talk to me. I like hearing your voice. You're my best friend. Please don't stay mad at me or lock me up as punishment. Remember, I'm probably going to live 10 to 15 years, so take care of me when I get old. One day you'll need someone to take care of you, too.
A message from the Montgomery County Humane Society. Visit www.mchumane.org for the complete rules to love by.
Be your best friend for life. Welcome back. This is Charlie Checkers, your storyteller today. I'm regaling true stories of real people that were castaways. Sailors, a lot of them have found themselves stranded on deserted islands with hardly any hope of rescue. Most of these survivors were of shipwreck or other disasters, maybe natural disasters, typhoons, hurricanes, that kind of thing. But some were marooned on the island as prisoners for punishment for some crime or misdeed they did. These castaways faced really constant danger of hunger, animals, weather, loneliness, and for me that would have been my big thing. I'm a gabber, but I like my alone time, I do, but I would have had a really hard time with no one else to talk to except the fish in the trees. So today we're going to explore 6 incredible stories of people who were stranded in tropical as well as freezing tundra, and they lived to tell about it. So the first gentleman is Alexander Selkirk. He was a Scottish mariner, and he arrived at an island off the coast of Chile along with others, British privateers, and they spent the year before harassing Spanish shipping fleets around South America. But when they dropped anchor in Juan Fernandez, Selkirk got into a heated argument with his captain over the ship. He felt that it was not seaworthy anymore to handle another long voyage. So hot-headed Selkirk decided to stay behind on the island, and they only gave him a small supply of weapons, food, tobacco, and of course the all ever-present rum to keep him company. Selkirk decided that he would do this because in a few weeks somebody would probably pick him up. Actually, it was more like 4 years and 4 months all alone on his island. And how he passed his days. How did he survive? Well, he notched out the days and months on a tree. He got real familiar with his Bible and chased goats. First because he was hungry and then because he wanted something to do. All the while, he kept his eyes peeled, of course, for ships that came by. But a few ships were flying the Spanish flag, so he couldn't have that. He was even forced to hide in the trees when Spanish mariners landed on the island to get fresh water and such. He finally was rescued in February of 1709 by a Captain Woodes Rogers. They stopped at the island, and out comes this wild-haired, bearded castaway. Initially, he had a hard time speaking because he hadn't been around anybody for a long time. But he became a minor celebrity in the 18th century England because of this. When he went back to the mainland, he was probably the inspiration for the title character in Daniel Defoe's 1719 novel Robinson Crusoe. It ended well for him. He had food and he survived. The next lady, this time, Marguerite de la Roque. She was a French noblewoman. And in the 16th century, she spent 2 years marooned on an island off the coast of Quebec. Now, she began this odyssey in 1542. She was on a ship on an expedition to establish a colony in Canada, but probably got bored on the long Atlantic crossing. And being young and unmarried, Marguerite decided to spark a scandal when she took a fellow passenger as her lover. And the ship's captain was very devout. So he was outraged by this, and her person that she had the tryst with and her servant were exiled to the remote islands of Demons near the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Now, they had to build a hut to protect themselves against the cold. Wild animals, bears and wolves, they had to scare off with muskets and rocks. But that was not the least of their woes because a serious problem, Marguerite discovered she was pregnant. So, this young castaway, she managed to survive the birth of the child, but her lover and the servant, after being there about 16 months on the island, they died. And unfortunately, sadly, her young child soon followed. So, Marguerite continued to survive, all alone on the island till 1544, and she was rescued by a group of fishermen and ferried back to Europe. So she survived as well. She survived to tell the tale. The next gentleman is Fernando Lopez. He was a Portuguese soldier who had turned against his homeland, and he defected with the Muslim natives during the conflict in India. And when his former soldiers or his former brothers in arms captured him, they decided to chop off his right hand, his ears and nose. Ouch! That's not good. He was disgraced, and being deformed, he didn't want to be seen, so he stowed away aboard a ship bound for Portugal in 1516. And it stopped at an island, Isle of St. Helena, and he got off and he hid in the forest. Now, this island is famous because that's where some 300 years later, Napoleon Bonaparte was banished because his battle at Waterloo, he was defeated. Mr. Lopez would live on the island in exile for several years, totally all alone, except for the rooster he took with him as a pet. And he became somewhat of a legend among the Portuguese mariners because they dubbed him the Hermit of St. Helena. And whenever they came and dropped anchor at this island, they would leave offerings of food and clothing. He never did want to see anyone. He didn't like visitors on his island. But his celebrity grew, And so he was persuaded to travel to Europe, where he received a pardon from the king of Portugal and an absolution from the Pope. And even though he was disfigured, he was offered housing at a monastery, but he chose to return to St. Helena, where he lived all alone until his death in 1545. And by that time, he had spent some 30 years mostly all alone. Well, that is our third story, and he lived to tell about it. So how about we take a short commercial break so I can wet my whistle, and we'll be back in a minute.
It's our last errand today, Jimmy. Just need to pick up some light bulbs.
Whoa, there's so many. Did Grandma tell you which ones to buy?
No, but check out the label on this package. It'll help us find the right bulbs.
Does it really matter?
Well, sure. The new light bulbs use a lot less energy, so we save money on our electric bill by using an energy-saving incandescent CFL or LED.
How about this bulb?
Now, let's see. We need to replace the 60-watt bulbs in our bedside lamps. That one is 800 lumens, so it should do the trick.
I've never heard of lumens.
Lumens tell us how bright the light is. The more lumens, the brighter the bulb.
You know, Grandpa, you're a pretty bright guy.
Yeah, you're pretty smart yourself, Jimmy.
Lumens, the new way to shop for light. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. That's EnergySavers.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Energy.
It's the Charlie Checker Show, a jazzy compendium of reviews for artists, independent films, musicians, and authors. Visit online at thecharliecheckershow.com. Welcome back. This is Charlie Checkers, your storyteller today, and I am regaling true stories of real people that were cast away on deserted islands. The next gentleman that we have is Philip Ashton. This gentleman was a Massachusetts-based fisherman, and he was near Nova Scotia when his schooner was set upon or attacked by pirates. And this gentleman was Edward Lowe, and he refused to join the pirates in their ranks, so they kept him for a slave for 9 months while the pirates plundered their way across the Atlantic and back again through Central America and Brazil. So the fisherman finally made his escape in March of 1723, and he sprinted into the jungle after the pirates stopped for fresh water on a small island off the coast of Honduras. So Ashton managed to construct a crude shelter, and to survive with no food or tools, he ate fruit off the land and raw turtle eggs, so he didn't starve to death. So he was hanging out on his island until November 1723, when a British man who escaped the Spanish was a fellow castaway. And he was only there a few days. So then he disappeared. He didn't know where he went, but he left behind a knife and some other supplies that Ashton used for more survival. He would eventually spend 7 months, and this during extreme heat, warding off snakes and insects. He almost died of a fever, and he was even attacked by the Spanish before he was rescued by a British ship in June of 1724. Now, Ashton later wrote a popular book about his terrifying days on the pirate ship and his 16-month stint as a stranded survivor. Another lady in our presence, listeners, Juana Maria, and she was given this famous name, Lone Woman of San Nicolas. She was a Native American, and she spent 2 decades on an island off the coast of California. Now, she grew up on St. Nicholas, but her tribe was all of them killed, most of them, in the early 1800s by hostile hunters. So when the missionaries evacuated the last survivors in 1835, she was left behind because she ran back to the island to locate her missing infant. Unfortunately, she never found the child.